Hey, welcome back to part 2 of driving with the parking brake on. And so we just kind of defined what it's like without and sort of what the causes are, which is stress. But here's what stress does, is I want you to understand a couple of things about your nervous system. And that's that, and again, I'm looking at my notes, so forgive me, I want to stay on track. When the parking brake is on, it typically means the following. One is that we have two amazing parts of our nervous system. One is the sympathetic. And you'd think, well, sympathetic means nice, and sympathetic, well, it's useful, but it's really our fight or flight response. And when we get overloaded with stress, this kicks this thing into high gear. This draws blood flow away from our prefrontal cortex and overloads activity in our survival centers. Think lizard brain, right? Think survival, think fighting, fleeing, or perhaps even freezing and just feeling totally stuck. This is going to activate the parts of our brains that are going to produce, again and again, these repetitive, automated negative thoughts, of which we have about 65,000 per day. 90% of them are the same thoughts we had yesterday. Ouch. 80% of them, this is even harder, is that they're negative. So this is all tied into the stress response. And just know, too, that the human brain has what's called a negativity bias. Meaning, when we're overloaded, the brain is going to basically stress and pain and the things that upset you and irritate you and bug you, the painful memories, they're going to stick to you like Velcro. And then positive experiences like, wow, what a beautiful day. Oh, I just had this beautiful encounter with my wife or my husband. Or, God, I'm so grateful for all these things in my life. These are going to be a little bit more like Teflon because the system is so overloaded. Now, on the other hand, we have this parasympathetic system. And the parasympathetic system is really cool. This is where we basically go into a deep, resting, relaxed, all is well mode where our body can deeply rest and regenerate, and it can digest, not only digest food, but digest the psychic baggage of a day, of a week, of a lifetime. It's so important to nourish both of these systems, except in our culture we tend to be completely dominated by the fight or flight. Now look, it's a great thing if you have to run from the proverbial saber-toothed tiger. The sympathetic nervous system is designed to protect you. But you know, your mortgage, traffic, your wife giving you a sideways look, you know, your boss giving you a funny look, an email from a friend, a comment from somebody which seems offhanded, this is passing through the filter of this undigested stress that I mentioned earlier. And think of a light coming through a prism, it sort of fractures off, and then we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Now listen, this has tremendous implications for our health, and I'll just name a few. When we're in this state, our muscles are tight. You know, see my videos on the 5 gifts of the spine, but our muscles are tight, our spine is locked in poor posture. We know from the research, poor posture is going to affect your health in every single dimension. Every capacity of health is decreased as the posture worsens. And you don't feel good. You feel like the parking brake is on. You know, it's hard to feel like the parking brake is off when everything's tense and you're sort of going through life like this. Right? The other thing is that it actually affects our genetic expression. Being constantly in this sympathetic stress response totally alters our genetic expression to the negative. And here's the good news, is we have tremendous practices like network spinal analysis, somatorespiratory integration, other things that I really advocate for, such as meditation. Any practices like that are going to begin to slowly retrain you to be positioned and hardwired for joy, for compassion, for kindness, for health, for vibrance, for vitality. That's who you are. The stress response is the accumulated distortion of that. So this is great news. I mean, the reality is just that you can change. Whether it's a physical challenge, an emotional challenge, a mental challenge, whatever the big crisis that you experience, these are gateways into, these are invitations, these are portals into absolutely beginning this beautiful path of working on yourself and actually creating sustainable change. Because when we do these things, we're actually changing the hardwiring of